What a tremendous honor. I am so happy to be here with this class today. And thank you for the honor of being able to speak. Your class, wow. Class of 2021, you came, you saw, you put a mask on, you kept your distance, and you conquered. And you're here today in front of me with your parents and your friends, the Oakcrest faculty and staff, your mentors. Congratulations to all. To the most generous parents in the DMV who made Oakcrest possible for your daughter, I salute you right now. We can clap for the parents. Graduates, you did it. Today is your day. You are closing the chapter of this chapter of your life story, completing high school with style, humor, true grit. You have formed intense friendships. You've studied together, prayed together, played together. You've really grown up together in these past years. I know you've taken care of each other in special ways that we don't even need to put words to. You know. You are deeply connected, and you know what? You always will be. Oakcrest School, you are forever the class of 2021, the masked ones. And I know this place has been your home. I remember that feeling. I remember my graduation from Oakcrest 25 years ago now. Like most seniors, I was ready to go. But I always knew I had a home base here. When my parents arrived at Oakcrest, my dad was in the Army, he's retired Army, and we came to Washington, and my parents found Oakcrest, and they went to the new parent orientation. Barbara Falk, who's here today, then head of school, said, "Welcome to Oakcrest. We're so happy to partner with you for your daughter's education. We care deeply where she will be in 4 years, but we care much more where she will be in 400 years. 400 years. Her candid, supernatural outlook rocked me, and my parents too. My parents are here today. The mission of this extraordinary school lives on, and today it's passed on to you. So, I went deep inside myself to think what was really vital to extend to you all today. I know I'm not here as a tragically late honor for my performance in the 1996 Oakcrest variety show. Or am I? No, I searched myself. I asked for some inspiration and prayer. I listened to Olivia Rodrigo's album. So I'm ready. This morning, what's on my heart is to talk about compassion. Hello, yes. In consideration of how we experienced the past year, each of us uniquely, compassion for others' suffering, it makes a lot of sense. Take a little sip here. But instead, I want to go back and talk about what's even more foundational, compassion for you, for yourself, self-compassion. Because you're about to navigate a lot of changes in a short amount of time, and you cannot be resilient unless you have compassion for yourself. It's not indulgent, and I'm going to show you how. Second, when you have true self-compassion, the natural overflow of that is compassion for other people. And going further, to have self-compassion, I believe, is to view yourself closer to the way our Lord sees you. So we ready? Okay. So to observe yourself and know yourself is to understand you're going to be constantly learning the patterns of your heart as you continue to develop. Self-compassion begins with knowing your limits as a human person, honoring and accepting your humanness, and being with yourself in those limits. So let's say in college, that would look like resting your body when the sun goes down, not looking into blue light all night long. I know you will get so much more accomplished, but there will also be dings. There'll be dings, right? We'll drop the ball sometimes. You're going to fall down daily, sometimes minute to minute, but hanging in there with yourself in those moments, being warm and understanding towards you when you suffer and fail, rather than ignoring pain or torturing yourself with it. That's what can contribute to a real sense of connectedness. The pioneering self-compassion researcher, Dr. Kristen Neff, whom I'll quote now frequently, put it this way: when you compassionately remind yourself in those moments of falling down that failure is part of the human experience, then that moment becomes one of togetherness rather than isolation. Togetherness rather than isolation. You've heard these wise words. We are all just walking each other home. And I can confirm you're never going to be alone. Ladies, it's okay to not be okay. I'm standing on this Oak Crest stage telling you all, it's okay to not be okay. And when you're not okay, in those moments, you can put your hand on your heart and you can say, this is a moment of suffering. Suffering is part of this life. May I be kind to myself in this moment and meet this pain with caring and warmth. The reason why this is important is because shame and perfectionism, they don't work. When we get lost to self-criticism, it inhibits us from actually learning anything from what just happened. Being gentle with yourself, that is the resiliency biohack. As now your fellow alum, I'm asking you to go forward from here as a keen observer of yourself in order to know yourself, and that demands a slowing down. Rather than the adrenaline pumping, sometimes funny, inner critic, compassionate resilience requires a steadiness of mind and a willingness to be with suffering rather than turning away from it. Painful feelings are, by their very nature, temporary. They will pass over. No feeling is ever final. Set your iPhone alarm. It's usually about 15 minutes. 15 minutes of that intense. They will weaken as long as we don't prolong them or amplify them by resisting and avoiding. As the poet Robert Frost said, the best way out is always through. So how? This is a moment of suffering. Suffering is part of life. May I be kind to myself and meet this pain with caring and warmth. Why? Because our ability to meet the challenges of our own life with resilience strengthens our abilities to then turn and face other people's suffering. And that's our mission, to go forth and love. It's what you were created for, love. So ladies, observe yourself, know yourself. Take note of your triggers for weariness. Take note of your happiness triggers. Those exist too. That's part of living the examined life. Next year, wherever you are, maybe keep a daily gratitude journal, not only to catalog the happiness triggers, but because gratitude always will recognize and just restore that right order. When we respond as just beneficiaries of a loving and a generous God, then we can return his love. Now, let me pivot. I want to give a shout out to whoever's under this tent thinking, yeah, well, that sounds really, it's a little nice, a little wishy-washy. You don't have to raise your hand and identify yourself, but I see you. I feel you. I was you. Because you know what? I was really not about the business of this compassion if it meant really giving myself or other people a big fat blank check to mess up their lives. I mean, I'm being honest. I'm thinking now of how C.S. Lewis wrote about a form of corrupted love, what he calls the passion of pity. The passion of pity is what happens when really loving the hurting, the broken, the weak, what typically the world might think of as compassion. When that becomes a god, in doing so, it could become a demon. At Oak Crest in 1995, this is how you know I'm an Okie, because I'd be quoting Peter Kraft. Okay? It's in our DNA now. It is. In 1995, Dr. Edwina Maxim was Miss Maxim to me. She introduced me to one of my favorite philosophers, Peter Kraft. He says, the world often uses compassion as an equivalent for moral relativism. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, Professor Kraft, right? We hear that. You do you. Speak your truth. Nobody booed, wow. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. But that's not what I'm talking about with self-compassion. Self-indulgence is not self-compassion. Parents and grandparents here know, in their love, in raising you, with healthy boundaries, they said no to you. Maybe often. They said no. They told you to eat your vegetables and don't eat candy for dinner. They maximized the support that frankly you needed so you would have those boundaries, so you could learn that you're all free to reach for what is excellent, and they didn't undermine your resilience. Indulgence can lead to being less free and almost puts one in bondage to pain and isolation, while true compassion is about alleviation of suffering. So observe yourself, know yourself. The passion of pity leads us to concede what should never be conceded. Oh, but maybe she really likes eating candy for dinner. Right there. We surrender the truth out of misguided pity and compassion for hurting and can flatter others rather than speak the truth. When we feel true compassion, especially when our pain may come from our own poor habits or behaviors, we would want to heal our pain. We want to make changes and improvements that will help us suffer less. Self-criticism is only motivating because of the fear of punishment, but the motivational power of self-compassion comes from a desire to be healthy. Be good to yourself. As you go forth, please hold on to this. True compassion refuses to concede what should never be conceded, even in the face of great human suffering. It refuses to flatter under the pressure of pity, and it will insist on speaking the truth, or at least clinging to it if prudence says, now is not the time to speak. It's willing to be called heartless in the pursuit of the true and lasting good of the distressed. Observe yourself, know yourself. There is a holy stability and integrity to true compassion, and it's a skill. It's a paradox to be able to move towards the hurting without getting swallowed up in the anguish. And it's this capacity that allows us to acknowledge we all have some work to do, and we're not alone in that. And we can work on improving ourselves not because we're unacceptable as we are, but because we want to thrive and be happy. So ladies, these ideas I've just shared this morning, they're not just friendly suggestions. There's an ever-increasing body of research that backs this up, there's a massive power in self-compassion, motivational power. You will need that motivation in college and next year and beyond. Observe yourself, know yourself. Self-compassionate people set high standards for themselves, but they're not as upset if they miss the goal because they're not perfectionistic. Research shows self-compassionate people are more likely to just set a new goal after a failure rather than falling down and really wallowing in disappointment and frustration. They have healthier habits, they maintain themselves in a proactive way. So, for the people in the back, self-compassion is not the same as being easy on ourselves. It's a way of nurturing ourselves so we can reach our full potential. Maybe there's someone here who still has a part inside them protesting. Yes, but, okay, Laura. Really, though, who cares if it hurts, though? Sometimes there's rules, and I'm blunt. I'm a blunt person. People need me to tell them. Saint Josemaria wrote, "Do you feel as if goodness and absolute truth have been deposited with you, and therefore you have been invested with a personal title or right to uproot evil at all costs? You will never solve anything like that, but only through love and with love, remembering that love has forgiven you and still forgives you so much." So again, how? Staying small, remembering we all have more to learn. Extend, if that's still you, if you're still a little stuck there, extend some curiosity towards the parts of you that are trying to be really big. Think littleness. Put your head and your heart together. I like the idea of being the hero of your own life. Because compassion, I think this can be your superpower. Being at the heart level with people. If you're still stuck, ask Our Lady, Mother of Compassion, for her help. We need encounters. The human heart needs encounters with other hearts. Otherwise, faithful people leave for college and they can lose their faith. People turn away from an institution because they don't know they're turning away from a person. I want to leave you with an experiential exercise. Everybody, all the rows, the graduates and all the family and friends. What I'd like to invite you to do right now is just please find another person in your line of sight and just rest your eyes on them right now. Maybe just soft focus your eyes. There's some very adorable people looking at each other in the back. Okay, with attention on that person, I just want you to consider, with your attention on the other person, just like me, this person is seeking some happiness for his or her life. Just like me, this person is trying to avoid being wounded in his or her life. Just like me, this person has known sadness, loneliness, and despair. Just like me, this person is seeking to fulfill his or her needs. Just like me, this person is learning about life. I see some of you tearing up. This is the way to love. Pope Benedict reminds us love, caritas, will always prove necessary, even in the most just society. There's no ordering of any state so just that it could eliminate the need for the service of love. I wish you all love and compassion. You have my prayers. I look forward to reassembling with you all again, either in 4 years or 400 years, without the loss of anyone. God bless.